Right. Last lecture we talk about GitHub, how to create an issue, how to push your source code to GitHub, how to ask questions, use some simple Markdown. Today's lecture we're going to talk about how you contribute. This is something you probably need to do when you are developing your package. The one we're going to talk about is called pull request. Okay. You go to my sample repository. This one here, it's here. This one called request. So what does this mean is you are submitting a request indicating you want to contribute to a project, or you can contribute to your own project. You might still want, even if you are writing your own package, you might still want to use the pull request. So the point of using the pull request is we're going to talk about the branch later. So by default, you're creating an account, and here it's going to show you the branches. So what does this mean is every repo going to have a main branch. In the past, it's called master branch, but now the default name is called main. So this means this is basically the main report, not the report, the main branch. So think about source code development, especially if you're working on a project that's being working on by hundreds of people. How do you make sure everyone get the latest copy? Because if I give you something, everyone can come out, work on different stuff, add different lines of code. It's going to be very messy, very complicated. So the main branch basically think about is the main, is the master. So basically everyone is contributing. Think about a tree stem. This is the stem. This is where you have all the branches growing up. But everyone need to contribute to this tree stem, right? Otherwise, if you are separated, you'll be dead. Right? If you leave, you're falling down, you're gone. You cannot come back. So everything needs to grow upon this main branch. So the main here, this is the tree stem that everyone is working on. But you can growing up, everyone can make a copy, and then you can go your branch. Eventually, it become part of the stem. Right? If you're growing up, think about here, growing up, the tree stem can growing higher and higher. That means contributing back to the project. So the main branch is something that's stable. It doesn't change all the time. Of course, you can, but usually you want to maintain very, very stable. And you want to also relate it, have a version, right? So think about here, even for any software you're using, Windows 11, right? Windows 10, and even Windows 11, you're going to release like minor versions, right? Or similar to the Visual Studio Code they were using. They also it's also open source, also on GitHub. So if you're really capable, you can contribute to this. But what I'm going to show you here is if you go to the help, right, and then go to about, you're going to have a version number, right, 1.86.0. And for any software development, most likely you're going to adopt something very similar. You're going to have the version like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, blah, blah. But you're going to see something like this. So the main branch is very important. Basically, it's the master one that everyone is working on. And you want to have the branches. So the reason you don't want to previously, in those lectures, we teach you how to like just make some changes and then write the message and then control enter and then just push. But think about it. If you're working on a project that's being used by hundreds of thousands of people, you don't want to put some garbage, accidentally make some mistakes, and then everyone is like in panic mode because you break something. I'm sure you break something in the past. How do you fix it? Of course, in Git, using Git, you can revert it back to. But pull request basically is the mechanism allows you to submit something, and people can review it. Everyone approve, then you can move into the main branch. You don't want to commit things direct to the main branch for popular project because you won't be able to unless you are the owner of the repo. So this is the whole idea about doing software development is that there's a main branch. Everyone is copying the main branch. They work on something and they push it back. Imagine I give you an assignment, ask you guys to like add something to my repo, and everyone is opening the file, editing the same file. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be very difficult for me to actually resolve all the conflict. Even if I ask you to use Microsoft Word document, check changes, you can still send back like all kind of versions. How do I figure out which one to keep, which one to discard? So there's kind of a complicated issue, but branch is basically used to solve the issue. So I'm going to show you step by step how you do that. And even like I said, even if you are working on your project, you should also try to use pull request. It's safer. And something goes wrong, you will know, because when you submit a pull request, you can run all the testing. So all those testing can tell you if something wrong, you don't merge it, because you're going to break a lot of stuff. Okay, make sense? So this is why it's called pull request, sometimes called PR. And if you go to ask a question, they say, oh, there's a bug, something is wrong. And then the owner might ask you, can you submit a PR? Yeah, oh, it's not like PR, like to promote you. It's like submit pull request. That means you need to fork the repo and then clone to your computer, make some changes, and then you submit the pull request to the upstream. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So first, if you click the link, come to my repo. If you're working on your own repo, you can also submit a pull request. So first, I'm going to show you how we submit pull request to your own repo. This is the one I have, right? And I already have here on my computer. So there are two ways you can create a branch. You can create using a web interface, or you can use a Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to show you, go to my GitHub repository. So you can have it. Let me delete all my stuff. I'm going to clone again. Open it. Start from scratch. Exactly what I'm talking about here. Okay, so now you can work on your own repo. So I recommend just whatever repo take on under your account. So here, like I said, if you want to create a branch here, you can create something from here, right? Especially if you are working on new version, or you can say maybe a new feature or whatever. You type whatever name you like, and then just click create branch from main. Okay, so if you click this one, it should create a new branch. So now if you come here, you will see this one. So you can think about a branch is a copy of the source code. So you copy from the main. So if you switch to here, you can messing around here. It will not affect the main branch until you make some changes to immerse into the master. So I can think about here, right? I have add a new feature, and then if you just want to use Visual Studio Code, I can just say, okay, create a new file. And this one will be, for example, I can add a new one called examples, okay? .py, it can be anything, okay? It can be any file name. And here you can write anything, but working on complicated stuff, you want to use Visual Studio Code. This one is here, just a simple script, so I can just make, okay? Howdy. Then you can say commit changes. Here, you can write a commit message. This is the same one we have been using Visual Studio Code. When you write a message, the same idea in here. You can write a description if you want to. Otherwise, you will just say commit. Sometimes you will ask you create a new branch for this commit. Don't need it. We already create a branch in advance. So we can say commit changes. Okay. And notice here, now we have this branch. Of course, we just added a new file. So right now, this branch is ahead of the main branch, right? Because I created something. So if you go to the main repository, you notice like something here, the yellow bar here at the top. It's going to show you, okay, this branch had recently pushed on February 7 because we add something new. So whenever your source code is ahead of the main branch, if you want to pull up this one, ask you, do you want to create a compare and create a pull request? So this is usually yes. If when you are ready, you can say, I'm going to create a pull request. So all we need to do is just to say compare and pull request. And it's going to show you here what kind of new files they have added, right? And of course, you let me do it a little bit more so that you have both new add and also deletion. Let me switch back to the future branching here. Let me show you. For example, I can also go to my README file, right? And in the README file, I can also do some editing here. Edit the file, okay? And I can maybe Spring 2024 add for demo for geography at 50K, for example. This is new line I just added. That's going to show you I add something, I remove something, and then the pull request is going to show you exactly what you add. So I'm going to commit changes, and you can write a message if you want, but I'm just going to use the default one. Again, come back to the main repo, the same. So now if I say compare and pull request, take a look at this. They're going to show you, right, the README file. Red color means you delete something. Green color means you add something. So clearly you see earlier, this original file, it was like Spring 2024, but now I delete something, I say here, and also add a new line. Also, this is the new file I just added. So there are different ways you can, showing you two files changed, okay, two commits, one contributor, right? Because it's kind of coming from me. So now I can say, okay, I'm going to submit a pull request. So this is where it's important to have a descriptive title. If you're contributing to a popular open source project, don't just use the default one because people are going to close your pull request without merging it. So for me, I would say, okay, add an example. Example Python script, okay. Even if it's yourself, like it's still useful because you are documenting what you do to the project rather than everything just commit to the main because something breaks will affect other people. Okay, so in here you can say, okay, I added a script that demonstrate whatever. Okay, how to blah blah blah. And you can, if you want, you can have a simple example here, right? Python blah blah blah. Whatever you want. Then you can add some screenshots, whatever if you want to. But it'll be something like this, just similar to what we talked about in the last lecture. It's similar to when you ask questions on the discussion board or you open an issue, you want to create something like this. And then you can say create pull request. Usually these are some of the options, right? This is where you want people to review because sometimes you don't, if you are not the owner, you cannot, this one is disabled. Only the owner and the maintainer can like select which one to review. And also the labels, because I'm the owner of this repo, so I know, for example, enhancement, right? So I say, okay, this is an enhancement project. Then just click create pull request. That's it. And it's going to come up here under this one. Okay. Next time you come here, right? Show you, okay, example, enhancement to the repo. Then you can start reviewing. If there's a reviewer, because right now this repo only myself, so there's nobody to review, but you can invite somebody to review. So if you are contributing to a popular project, they will have a reviewer, and they're going to review because just like I said, there's a gatekeeper. People are not going to mess around those projects, especially for a popular one. There are a lot of developers they guarding, they secure the projects, so that not everyone can mess around. And of course, you can contribute some like polls or spams into that. People want to catch that because I can see exactly what you contribute. I can see how many commits, right? How many files were changed, right? So if you have something like suspicious, I'm going to, if as a maintainer, I'm going to come here and then just going to click close pull request. Nothing is going to affect the main branch. But everything looks good, and then I can review and I can say here, yeah, looks good to me. Thanks for your contribution. Right? Then I can say here, you can have a couple options. You can just merge the pull request. So I would recommend you select the other one here, squash and merge, because you will see I have two pull requests, pull commits in here. If you directly just merge pull request, this two is going to show up on the gig history as a separate item. If you squash and merge, that means you're going to combine these two just as one item, so that if somebody is working on a pull request and they keep pushing, and then like you have 10, 20 commits, it's going to be routing the git history of the repo. So if you come to here and then see the git, it's going to be very messy, very, very long. So if somebody like committing 100 times, you don't want them to show up here 100 times because you saw it just once. So I would recommend just use this option. So here, click this drop down list, squash and merge. And then so that will allow you to add a commit message. Here, and then just click. And this is the one it's going to show up on the git history rather than showing up these two. Okay. And usually it's going to use the title of the pull request. Okay. And if everything looks good, you can just say confirm squash and merge. Then you're done. So that means your source code has been merged, and you can delete this branch because you don't need it anymore. So if I delete it, it should be work just fine. And now if I come back to the main repo, take a look. Is this a new one? And also the examples that I added. And if you look at the commit, right? Earlier it was 5 commits, but now I have 6. And so this one comes from a pull request. So if you want, you can click. Again, you have the entire history. So anything you are contributing to the project, everything can be traced now. So you know exactly who contributing to the project, what source code was changed, and you can trace all down the history. So everything has a record. And it's very safe. It's also open source. Anyone can contribute. So anytime if you go to any project, you find any typo, you get anything, you can submit a pull request. Either using this web, if the simple one, then you just use the web interface. Just create, fork the repo. Of course, right now, this is under my account, I cannot fork the repo to myself. You can change the name if you want to, but let me show you, right? Think about here, under maybe, GitHub, and then I go to my GitHub organization, for example. Where is it? Okay. So this is an organization. So this one I can contribute, right? So if I have anything I suspect if something is wrong, then, for example, how about this one, right? PyGS. Okay. You see now it's no pull request, but if you go to some others, for example, GMap, for example, right? This is a project that I created and I maintain. You were able to see like pull requests, how many issues. So we click this one. For example, I'm working on these new functions, new features. So if you have some major changes to your package, you probably want to create a new branch so that you can review, you can do the testing. So for example here, right? This is the one I create. I want to add some new functionality. I'm going to show you, give you a description. I'm also going to show you the source code that can reproduce the new functionality. I'm also going to show you the output, what it looks like, right? So it's trying to make it easier for reviewers. And on the right here, you see here, I asked somebody, a Google employee, to review this repo. So that, and then you say, oh, look at this, looks good, and I add more examples. This is how I'm going to the example that you can show. And then, oh, do you want me to review right now? Oh, no, yeah, I'm still working on that. You can wait later. And they're going to comment, so you can get the conversation going. And once it's done, then you can merge it. But you see here, this is more complicated because the repo does not allow you directly push. So that function is disabled, so nobody can push directly to the repo. So for large project, usually this one is disabled. You need at least 2 people to review or 1 people to review, so they can be merged. Earlier I showed you it's just myself, so I just merge it anywhere. But for other projects, it may not be the case. So this one here shows the example, and similarly, there are also some like checks. And this is what we're going to do later for your project, is that your source code will be tested automatically on Windows, on Linux, and also Mac computer. So it makes the things they add to the project, it can be tested, everything works as expected. If there's any errors, you will need to fix it. It will not be merged, right? So these are so-called continuous testing. We talk about more in the coming weeks when we start developing the project. And we see here, right, all these commits that I created, you can have hundreds, but usually you want to keep it like concise. You don't have too many, and that's why we use the squash and merge commit. So once it sees the commit, you can come back to this history here, right? 1,590. There are a lot more commits than this one because most of those are just the pull request. And you will see here, right? I committed, I create a pull request, and you can see exactly sometimes what kind of things I did to, for example, the pull request, fix what stuff, and then it's going to automatically deploy, create a website, something like that. So if somebody reported some issue, I can fix it, and then can submit a pull request, merge, and then later on, you can release a new version. So when other people install it, you will install the latest version. Make sense? So this is the whole workflow to contribute to open source, just using the web interface, okay? So the next one I will show you is how to use Visual Studio Code. So that's actually the way that I use all day long, is to clone, fork a repo, and then create a new branch, make some changes, submit back to it, and then if it is accepted, then you become a contributor. So let me show you some repo in here. I'm going to show you like in real time how to contribute. So if I need to update something, I will do it this way. So I'm going to go back to my repo here. So for example, this py.js, okay? So this is the package that I created that allows you to install packages with one line of code. So you can install all kind of dependencies. And if I need to update something, I can update this one. So this is the repo. And if I'm going to contribute to it, first, come here, you need to fork the repo, because the repo needs to be on your account so that you can make some changes. And then this is called downstream. That one is called upstream, okay? This one right now is upstream. So if I fork that one to my account, you see here automatically, it's going to show you, okay, you have create a repo name. If you already have that, you cannot fork again. You can synchronize. But for now, I will just say create fork, okay? So once you have that on your account, then you can start clone that one to your computer. So for example, this is what I have right now, and right now it's under my account. And it's going to show you fork from blah, blah. So this one is your parent, it's your upstream. So when we make changes, we want to create a new branch. So usually you don't want to do the interface. Only if there's very minor changes, it's easier to do this way. But for complicated one, you want to come here, green button, or you can, again, use your Visual Studio Code, clone a repository, and then clone from GitHub. I'm not sure if you swap or not. Yeah, it's nice, okay. And then click, select a location where you want to save the repo, okay. And then select a repository. It's going to clone the repo and then open it, okay. So this is where you can start writing code. And depends on what kind of things you want to contribute. So for example, for this one, the dependencies, you will see this, all the versions and blah, blah, but something in here. So for example, leaf Gmap, right? So Gmap right now has a much newer version. And similar to leaf map, right? I want to update this one because previously this is pretty low version. Right now I want to increase that. So I can, for example, I can come to my GitHub, and so I can look at the new version. For example, Gmap, what's the latest version right now, and also LeafMap, right? So I can see, scroll down to the right. Here it's going to show you right now the version is 0.30.4. Okay, the other one is 0.31.0. So imagine this is a package that depends on those two. Right now I want to bring them up to date. Then I can make some changes in here. So before you do changes, I would recommend create a new branch, right? So usually what I would do is you can either use the left side here. You can this tree icon. So this one is the Git. You can see the branches. So here you can create a new branch. Create a new branch. Okay, and then you can give it a name. Of course, you don't want to use the same name. I can say update, whatever, any name you like. Okay, and then just hit enter. Create a new branch and switch. Create a new branch means it just create a new branch. It's not switching. Create a branch and switch. That means you are switch to the new branch that you are working on. So it's usually it's better to just switch. Okay, so I'm going to click this one, and on the left side here, you see it's green, highlighted. That means right now we are under this update branch. You're not on the main. So here, then I can start making the changes. Okay. For example, Gmap right now is 0.13.4. Okay, and LeafMap is 0.31.0. Okay. You can also delete some packages if you want to, right? So for example, I don't want this capital GL anymore. You can delete it if you need it. Okay. Then just Control S. That's it. Then come back on the left side here. It's going to show you, right, one file has changed. Okay. And similar to what we did in the previous lecture. Then you just write a commit message. I can say update Gmap and LeafMap versions. Okay. And then Control Enter. Okay. Then push branch. So this is different from last time. You just push to the main. Right now we are pushing this one to the GitHub branch. And then just select origin. Okay. Upstream, that means you are pushing this one to the original of the upstream. You are not able to. Most of the time you won't be able to directly. You want to have something to your account first before you go to the upstream. So I'm going to just click origin. And it's going to take a couple seconds. Once it's there, let me go back to my repo in here, right? So earlier, you see, right? Not this one. Okay. Where is it? Here. You see, automatically, it's going to show you, right? Do you want to compare? Because GitHub knows that you just push a new branch, right? If you want to view all the branches, this is a new one, not created on the interface, but created locally, and you push that branch to GitHub. So now I see GitHub is going to know that you want to update something, okay? And because I'm the owner, or you the same thing, you can clone from other repository. So I'm going to say compare and pull request, and look at this. Hey, why is oh, I think it needs to be base repository. I think it should be this one. Base repository to master. Huh? 1 second. Did I make something wrong? Click here, master. It should not come up with this. Not sure why it's. Base branch update. Oh, let me switch back to my. Oh, this is another branch in the upstream. So it's no. Let me come back to here. I know what's the problem. It's because this one has an update branch somewhere in here. This was another. So the name is confusing, but let me show you. finish all the updates. So this one is 8 months ago. It just happened to be the same name. So let me delete to this one, and then it's work as expected. Okay. Okay. So when you are contributing, either you are under your own project or you are on the upstream, it's going to come up, show up this button, and then you just click. See, now it should be just one. So, and you can see where it's coming from. That means, okay, right now this is from the fork repository under my account. This one is the upstream. It's the main project that you are contributing to, and you see the arrow in here, right? You're pointing from the downstream to the upstream. So right now I'm contributing to this OpenGOS organization, okay? And this is what I updated it, something I want. And I can tell that, okay, update GMap and leaf map versions, okay? Then you can write the description, say this PR brings the GMap and leaf map versions up to date, okay? It can be pretty simple. And here, if you want, you can have some reviewers. If you want somebody to review it, you can click to select something to review. Or you can assign this to somebody, right? So if somebody is in charge of a certain features, then you can find somebody and you can say this one is, for example, enhancement or dependencies, for example. That's it. And just create pull request. Okay. And it's going to start require approval from specific reviewer before merging. And see this one? It's all going to run it automatically. You're going to test the changes that you make. The reason for that because in this repo, I have so-called GitHub actions. Again, we cover that later when we start working on the project. And these are sort of workflow. It's going to test your computer, test your package across different operating systems, Linux, different Python version. And you can think about those are the virtual computer that's going to install your package and then run all the testing. If it fails, that means something is wrong. The users might have issues. And this is where you want to be patient, is that you're not going to submit everything and just accept everything. You want the computer to run those so-called testing to make sure that it functions properly before you merge into the master branch. Yes?
Is there a way of just debugging from on Visual Studio?
Yes, we haven't talked about that. Yeah, you certainly can debug. You can run the code, you can run example, you can have notebook. We talk about more in the next lecture or next week. Right now, it's just showing you to make some text changes, but you can write code, you can do the testing. Visual Studio Code allows you to run like Python code, Jupyter Notebook. So everything can be done in here. So you need to do the testing. But think about here, I'm running Windows and I'm running Python 3.11. I don't test it on Mac computer. I don't test it on Linux or 3.10, Python 3.9. There's so many variants. So this is where the GitHub action is very important, that you develop something and then you have the whole system set up that you can test in different scenarios and then it works properly. So this is like all the software development, so-called continuous integration, is that you have things to check before you merge it. So this is going to take some time. It's not like instant. But usually what you want is to see all the green check mark. That means your packages doesn't have any obvious issues. If it does, then you have to resolve it. It happens, right? So for example, I can show you some packages, for example, leaf map, right? I was working on that yesterday and resolve some issues. So you can go to, for example, the pull request. You can see the entire history. Who is contributing? So what you want is to see this green check mark, right? Green check mark means everything passed all the testing. That means no issue. From time to time, you see it fails. Sometimes it fails for a reason. Then you need to resolve it because you expect it to be successful. If it fails, then you may not want to merge it because it might break something unless you know what you are doing. Otherwise, you're going to cause troubles. Okay. So what we want to do is to wait for this one. You see, now some of those has passed. That means I have tested the package installed it on Linux 3.8, 3.9, 3.10, 3.11. I'm waiting for Mac OS and Windows For Mac OS and Windows, I'm only testing like on the, I think this one is maybe Python 3.9 or something, or 11. But of course, if you want, you can also test it Windows on 3.8, 3.9, 3.11, like you can test. So you're gonna have a long list. So these are all the free resources provided by GitHub. Basically, virtual computers allows you to test against your package and also your algorithm, so that you have some procedures to run and make sure that the result that you get is as expected. And once everything passed, then you can just squash, merge, then you merge into the main branch, and then I can release a new version, and then when people install, pip install PyGS, then you install the latest version. But we talk about the version like a release in the future, but for now, this is the whole procedure, how you develop and like iterate. You have to create an empty repo, and then you add something, and next time if you are working on some major one that you potentially might break something, that you need no more robust testing, then you want to create a new branch, work on that, submit a pull request, see what's the conflict, what files has changed, is there anything suspicious or is there anything new, something need to be improved. If there's something, you can always come here to comment here. So if you're like, okay, I'm reviewing this one, and if it's not, it's like, okay, later on, right, for example, I released 0.31, and you can say here, leave as a reviewer or maintainer, I can come back to leave a comment. So this is similar to Microsoft Word check changes. Basically, on review something, I say, are you sure this is the latest version? I think it is 0.311.0, for example. I mean, just as an example, I can comment it. I can start a review, or I can just add a simple comment. And you, as the contributor, you can come back to here to continue the conversation. And I say, yes, I'm sure. Okay, the latest one. Then I say, okay, resolve conversation. That means I don't want to make changes. I think I'm right because I know what I'm doing. So resolve conversation. That means mark changes, right? Anywhere, if you wanted to change, you can add that. So this is how like people review, and you're going to see a lot of this, something like this. It's not like it's going to be one step. Everything is going to be merged all at once. People need to ask you to request changes. If you don't do that, I'm not going to merge your stuff. After a while, if you're not responding, I can close it, and then you're not contributing, right? So in this case, you're going to wait for this one to run. If you want to see the details, I can click. For example, this is testing on Mac computer, right? You see it's running, installing the packages. It's keep running. So this is basically all the automatic script testing the computer. And you are given instruction. You need to tell the operating system what you want to test, what you need to update. And then it's going to run through that. Once it's successful, then you're good to go. If it's not, then you need to keep making changes, okay? So again, I noticed something is like also updated because those workflows is under the .github workflows, right? So for example, earlier I was testing Mac OS, for example, right? And this one was using Python 3.9. If you want to change to something else, I can do that. I can say, come here. Okay, right now I say 3.11. Okay, I want you to test against Python 3.11 on Mac OS. And also, some of these are also outdated because I know if you click, right, actions check out. So these are kind of automatic software that can test the algorithm. And if I come back to this one, click the checkout, and if you scroll down the example, the latest one right now is version 4. You are using version 2. It's outdated. I can also update this one. Okay, so I'm going to change this one to V4, or because you have other workflows like in other locations, or I can also do this. I can just select this one, and I can come back to here to the search and replace them all at once. You see this, I have two locations that using this one. I can just come here and then say, okay, I want to update to V4, up right on the right here, replace all, okay, and replace. That's it. So now it's up to date. Again, you haven't pushed the changes yet. So similar to this one, I know it's right now it's version 5. You are using version 2, it's pretty outdated. Control V, right? Again, similarly, this one has 2 occurrences, and this one is 5. I can do the changes, update, replace, Control S, right? And similarly, there might be some others. If you can click through, you can take a look, right? This one is 3. Again, it's also outdated. I think it should be. Let me see if anywhere using 3. Okay. Okay, this one has a couple more, right? And Control Page V, number 4. It's version 4 right now. Update it, replace, and similar to this one, it should be version 5 right now. So the latest one, 5, and replace, Control S. That's it. And similar for Windows, right? So come here, blah blah, version 4. I know this one right now is version 3 now, so right, Control S, because I just updated other packages, so I know exactly. And similar here, you can change to other versions if you want to. And on the left side here, you should see all the files that has been changed, right? So these are all the YML is the workflow, basically the automatic workflow GitHub used to test, to create a computer to test your packages. So let me go back to this one here and take a look at this, oops, not this one. Where is it? Pull request. No, it's gone. It's under the PyGS here. So this is the upstream, right? So right now, your pull request will show up in the repo in the upstream, and it's still being tested. But you can see the Mac computer is already passed. So right now, the last one is the Windows. So you can continue to push changes, right? So even though this is going to pass, it doesn't mean that you need to stop or you need to create a new branch. You can continue to push new stuff. So I'm going to come back to my Visual Studio Code here, and I can say update GitHub actions, okay? And pay attention, right? If I just Control Enter, then just sync changes, it's going to sync automatically to the upstream. It's pushed to your account by sync to the upstream. So it might take a couple seconds. Okay, it's done. So now come back here, right? Checking ability. So it's rechecking, and see it's going to run again. So anytime if we push any changes, that automatic workflow is going to run again. So you can continue to push changes, but in general, you don't want to push frequently, because kind of like GitHub is setting up the computer, and then it's in the middle, you push again, and then restart, and restart. So you want to basically work on your local computer, and then when it's ready, then you push, right? For example, in a couple minutes or hours, when it's ready, you don't want to push all the time because you are wasting computing resources. It's only to use the latest version, only use the latest version. So if you push frequently, it's going to keep running. And sometimes there's a quota, so if you use all of them, you're going to wait because other people are also testing, they're using the resources. But in general, this is fine. This is, you can push as many times as you want. And just wait for this to finish, and then you can see, come here, squash and merge pull request, and then you can merge it. So unless you know what you are doing, you are 100% sure that it's not going to fail, you don't have to wait for them to pass, okay? But if you are contributing to other people's project, you may not necessarily to merge yourself. You cannot merge the pull request to other repo if you are not the owner or the maintainer, because you don't, this button will be grayed out. You will not have privileges to merge. Otherwise, you'll be a mess. Everyone can go online and just mess around and then just merge. It's not going to work that way unless you can merge yourself. Your own repo, you can merge by yourself. For example, right now here, because I'm the maintainer, so I have this button, you will not see this button. It's going to be grayed out. Questions? Yes?
If it's your repo, then why do you make branch? Because you can directly update, right?
Oh, I mentioned earlier, you missed the point. The reason you want to have branch is because if you're working on a project, if you keep just pushing to the main branch. You might break your own stuff before you testing it out. Because if you create a branch, you can test your stuff. And everything works fine, then you merge it. But you don't want to just push it. Then you have to revert it. Make sense?
Yes.
Just like you are working on a computer, you're messing around, you're deleting some files and blah, blah. If you shift delete, it's gone forever. It's not even in your recycle bin. Then what? You're working on a dissertation, and then you clean up a computer, and then just accidentally delete your dissertation. So what? Then how do you recover? It's going to be very challenging. But if you create a new branch, and then if you delete your dissertation, you're going to come back to here saying that, oh, okay, oh, you delete your file? This is no good. Then you close the branch, it's still safe. Your stuff is still there, right? So you don't want to, if you're working on simple stuff, you know what you're doing, then it's fine to just push to the main branch. But if you're working on a large project, you don't want to push directly to the main branch because it will break other stuff. Especially other people depending on your project, you want to make sure that your main branch is fully tested, it's robust, there's no bugs. It's fully tested, it works well, right? So pull request is very important. If you're working any software development, make sure you use it. Okay, so now let me, where's the PyGS? It's still running, so I can just wait until it's done, then I can just merge it. So pretty much right now, most I'm concerned is the Linux. So if it works on Linux, because most of the packages should work across platform. So most likely these two should also work. It may not, the safest way is to wait until everything finishes and then you merge the pull request. Again, you can always come back to here to see the changes. You might see this a bunch of these like from red to green. Actually, I didn't make the changes. So those are automatically by Visual Studio Code. When they do the formatting, it's going to change, for example, from space to tab, or those are some more like minor issues, but you can see what I changed, right? Because if you're working locally, sometimes it's not very clear. This gives you a way like which file was changed, what kind of things was changed, delete or new addition, and you have somebody to help you review. If you're unsure, then this is a good way to commit the changes. Make sense? And so one last here, I can come here, assume that it's all the green, right? Then I can just click merge pull request. And let me see here, I'm going to select this one, squash and merge, okay? And then I can squash and merge, blah, blah, here, this one. And then confirm squash changes. And then I delete the branch. You can set to automatically delete if you want to. And come back here. Now, this is in the main branch, the master. I have merged into it. So now this becomes into the master. So once you're master, so let me, one more minute, I'm show you quickly, right? So in here, in this project right now, you will see it's, right now on the lower left corner here, it says update. So this is the update branch. I can switch back to the master branch. So if you click that, and then here I can say master, okay? But your master branch is actually behind the main, is it updated automatically? It may be, and then you can just pull the master branch, then it should bring your master branch up to date. So now if I click this one, you see this, is it the latest one? If not, you can, there's a button here, shortcut sync changes. Oh, this one is from your local. So I should tell you, let me see here, like even if it is merged into the master branch, your local fork copy is outdated. It's behind the master now. You see this one, right? So earlier I contribute to the upstream, and this one is on my account is the downstream. It's going to show you this branch is one commit behind because I contributed one commit to there. So usually you want to come back to here, just say sync fork. So from the downstream, I contribute to the upstream, but now I'm behind because my master branch is behind the master branch. So you can say I'm going to update this branch to bring this one up to date. So now I'm synchronized with your upstream, and my update branch is gone, right? So now I'm synchronized. If I come back to my here, and then from here, this one here, if I sync it, here you see 4 and 5, right? So this is kind of the way. You fork the branch, you create a new branch, you work on something, and then you push. It's going to push to the upstream, and then if it is a merge, and then you want to synchronize back to your local, to your account, and then you make changes, and then you put the changes to your account. So this is kind of the whole workflow of doing contribution to the open source. Practice use for your own package later on when we start working on it. But we're out of time, so that's all for today. And again, make sure you practice. You need to practice before you get the sense of like the workflow. If it's just listening, you will still not get it when you really want to contribute. Okay, that's all for today. I will see you in the next lecture.